So, y'all, I want to talk about how patriarchy makes it hard for mothers in postpartum and how it affects them even more because we are in a patriarchal nuclear family setup. And if you follow my channel, you know that that's not a natural way of being. We are supposed to be in a matriarchy, we're supposed to be in matrilineal. So, in my intro, I keep saying postpartum, but I am specifically speaking of postpartum depression. I don't know why I kept leaving the depression part out, but please excuse me. Setups with women helping take care of the women and the babies after they have these babies. But since we don't have that, most women are stuck in these homes with men after they have these babies. And although some of these men help take care of the babies, is nowhere near the amount of help that the mothers need, and that's why a lot of women are going into postpartum. In a matriarchal setting, it'll be lessened. It'll be still postpartum, but it would be way less severe. Some women have it so severe and they don't know why, and they can't come out of it because they don't have the support and the help that they need. A lot of the times these mothers are single and they have nobody because their families got their own things going on and their families are toxic and can't help them or live in different states. A lot of the times these men, they feel like if they have to work, they shouldn't have to come home and help the mom, which is insane because the mom does not get a break. She doesn't get to sleep. A lot of newborn babies only sleep for 2 hours at a time. If that, they're up to every 2-3 hours, and the mom is not sleeping for months on end, which will drive her crazy, and it'll help like up her cortisol, up her PPD, and just all sorts of things. A lot of these women want to hurt these babies, and if they do, the world doesn't understand what's going on. Their minds just crack. They literally lose their minds, and they go to jail for doing stuff to their kids because they didn't have the setup that they were supposed to be in, which is a matriarchy. And a lot of women don't get that. A lot of women feel like a nuclear family is normal because that's what we've all been taught. And those men don't care really about those babies when they're first born. They want to be around the babies, like y'all heard Nelly say, when the baby is like 4 or 3 and they can toss a ball and play with it. Men want babies like kids want puppies. They want them, but they don't want to be hands-on with them. And men don't have that connection to that baby other than letting you borrow his fertilizer to fertilize your egg, your seed. He really has no connection to that baby. And we know this because a lot of us watch paternity court, and we see that if the dad of a baby is dead or deceased, they do not test the father of that dad that is deceased. They test the mother of that dad that is deceased because the babies are with us for 10 months in our body. We have the connection to us. They are rooted to us. They are our seed. The man's sperm is the fertilizer. So we need to get it in us that baby is part of us. That baby used our blood, our tissues, our muscles. It takes our hair, our teeth. That baby is us. So that is why women can empathize with one another in these matriarchal settings. They can empathize with what the woman is going through and give her what she needs, which is most of the time just sleep. A lot of time just sleep. She needs sleep. She needs to eat well. She doesn't need to get up and be feeding herself and just eating when she can because she's trying to sleep when she can and she's trying to clean when she can. That's too much for one person. That's too much for one person. So I'm going to get into these videos and I'll be in and out, and I'll talk to you ladies later.
Wondered why relationships never worked after a baby. And now I'm realizing postpartum is real. And men be so insensitive to the fact that women gotta learn to love themselves all over again while still learning to be a new mom. It is now clear to me that these are the most vital moments that will determine the depth of the relationship, because these are the moments a woman needs your attention, reassurance, and understanding the most. And the sad part is some of y'all men can't even do that.
Almost every culture on earth gives postpartum mothers 40 days of rest and recovery. But in the US, you get the 6-week checkup if you can get work off to go to it. More than half of maternal deaths happen after birth. So this is no joke. In Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil, you have La Cuarentena, 40 days of rest, soup, recovery, and no cold air. In China, you've got Zuoyuedza, 40 days of confinement, no chores, no visitors, full rest. In Nigeria, you have Omugwa, where the mother moves in to mother the mother. In India and Pakistan, you have Japa and Chila, 40 days of warmth, ghee, massage, and care. And across the Arab world, you have Arba'in, 40 days of sacred rest, honey, ghee, and protection. Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Greece, the patterns everywhere, they all have their own versions. In the US, most moms are back within days, where 1 in 5 will face some form of postpartum depression. We need to bring back the 40 days, and we need to build systems to protect and hold the mother.
I just want to add that in the US, if you're having babies, they're trying to make it even harder for you. They want more white babies, but they're making it harder because they want to make it hard for black people. So they're taking away your insurance, and they're either taking it away or they're raising it, which is taking it away because most people can't afford it, so you just won't have it. They are trying to force women into marriage boot camps to be with abusive men. So if you're having kids with these abusive men, you're just going to be like trapped in slavery basically in your house with their kids, because they want you to produce more people for their capitalism and for their workforce and for their military. Especially if you're a black woman. I've made videos on all the black women who have been treated so bad and poorly in this country because of racism, being turned away while they're in labor, being forced to have their kids on the side of the highway, in labor in the office while filling out paperwork, and being ignored by the nurse when she's like in active labor about to have a baby. It's just the woman that was used as an incubator. If you go back and look at some of my videos, you'll see all of these stories. If you haven't heard about them, these were all black women getting arrested if you have a miscarriage, not even abortion. The woman is getting arrested, even though most miscarriages are caused by the dad's sperm, of his sperm quality, and because he's old or unhealthy, his sperm could be bad, and it causes miscarriages. It causes stillborn babies and all kind of things, and women don't know that, but women are getting arrested for it. So these are all things that would not be happening if we were in a matriarchal society. Women barely get time off of work. Women cannot afford daycare because daycare for a newborn, y'all, it's $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month. Not a year, a month. That's when they're a newborn. And then as they get older, it gets a little bit cheaper, but it's still another mortgage payment. And then when they do go to daycare, you have to worry about them being abused. You know, if you live them with your parents or family, you still got to worry about the same thing, somebody abusing them, because there's not a whole system of women around to keep eyes on them, to take care of them, women that you trust. And then other people in your family cannot just stop their lives to help you. So there is no community because we are in a patriarchy.
Ways do you think some of these black men are not doing a great job in protecting black women?
Good question.
My primary thing that I can think of out the gate is postpartum. I started like a mom group online, and when I had my baby, and I've seen so many moms in this 2-year span break up with their mate, and their mate just not try to understand them, not handle them with love, not care. It's, oh, she's just different now.
And this goes back to what I was saying about men not being connected to that baby like you, and not being able to empathize with what you're going through. They don't feel what you're going through, and they can't put themselves in your place because they are not women. And that's what matriarchal societies were for women who empathize, understand, they know her experience, and they will pitch in and help instead of leaving and giving up, because their minds, they're not wired to do this. I'm not saying that none of them can rewire themselves. Some have. They have rewired and helped out as much as they can. But overall, the mass majority of men are not wired to care for children. It's just not natural for them. If you look at any species in nature, the males really don't help with the children. It's all of the women, all of the females helping. If you read books, matrilineal and matriarchal societies, that's how they were set up. And it was set up for a reason. It was set up to go with our biology. And that's just not natural for them. Not saying that they can't do it. I'm saying that it's not natural. Just like monogamy is not natural for anybody. For y'all that don't know me, I don't believe that monogamy is natural. I believe that it is a promise and it is a commitment that you make to another person, and you should stick to it. But when you get married and have kids, it's also the same thing. It's not natural. We're not supposed to be in this nuclear family setup. But once you make that commitment, you should stick to it and do your best to honor your promise and to be there for the person that you married.
She changed. Yeah, she pushed the whole baby out of her coochie. Yeah. I think she's gonna be changed. I'm not saying just be someone's punching bag. I'm not saying that, just, toss aside how you feel. But what I am saying is that when you go through a situation like that where you're giving birth, that changes everything within a woman. Like you never go back to that person you was before you had that baby for real. It's impossible. Yeah. So I think stepping up and just kind of giving a little bit more grace in that area will be beneficial.
Postpartum is very real. This is my son's placenta. This is the size of the wound inside women that's trying to heal after they give birth. We're not going to talk about the hormonal withdrawal. We're not going to talk about the neurochemical shifts. We're not going to talk about the sleep deprivation. We're not going to talk about the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And then hopefully these women are able to get 2 hours of sleep after they give birth. No, you men have to stop stressing because sometimes they might want to be held. They might not want to be held. They might want to laugh. They might want to cry. They might not want to do anything. And you have to show.
Again, this is why feminists have been telling everybody that patriarchy is not only bad for women, it's bad for men, because you're putting all this on men and telling them you have to do this, 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 and that. And like I said before, they're not biologically set up to do these things or to want to do these things or to empathize, because they are not the mothers. In patriarchal settings, the men weren't pressured to do these things because women were in groups with other women who could do that. So when women pressure them to do these things and when men pressure them, they can't take it either. They go crazy in their mind. A lot of them can't stand to hear a baby crying. It does something to them. It sets them off. It's just like, and they'll tell you to get your baby, get the baby, go sleep in the living room. They're tired. They act like they just have to have so much more sleep than us, like we're not human. That is because we're not in a matriarchal setting. And it's like we're telling men they have to do all these things. And divorce lawyers are seeing that more and more women and men are getting divorced after a kid comes because patriarchy is putting pressure on them too.
As the man they need in that moment, and it's no longer about you. Imagine having a wound this size in your body that's trying to heal. And then a lot of men don't understand a woman gives birth twice. One to your child and the next to the placenta, because they have to push these things out. These women are literally losing themselves, and you men are not showing up for them. She needs to be spoken to softly. Why? Because her nervous system needs it. A woman should dwell in her parasympathetic nervous system, which she receives oxytocins. So, hey, beautiful, I love you. Rub her hair, rub her feet. That releases oxytocins that will help her bond with the child. You men are putting them in the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight mode. They don't need that. They need energy to relax, and stress alone will mess up your bonding, your wife bonding with its child. Get yourselves together. Postpartum isn't something she can just get over. Postpartum is something she has to heal from, and sometimes it takes years, especially when a woman's not getting the right nutrients, the right love, the right affection, the right leadership from her man, when she still has to provide for herself and the child with no assistance and no help. These women are going through it. And when she has that hormonal withdrawal, after birth, her estrogen and proestrogen drops rapidly. Rapidly. Do you understand what I'm saying? So love your women, protect your women, even from you. Oh, praises be to the Most High. I love you. But understand, these women aren't pretending after they give birth when they say, I'm hurt. Their bones shifted. Their organs shifted. And they have the wound this size. As you see, I put herbs on my son's placenta to preserve it because this is decomposing flesh. But this is the size of the wound inside a woman. So when you scream postpartum is nothing, you have no clue of the pain those women go through. Just extend your lineage. It's your right to take care of her, to understand her, to love her, to adore her, to make her feel better than anything else walking on earth. All praises due to the Most High. Oh.
So there are a lot of extreme cases of women having postpartum psychosis. This is what women have when they have these babies after already having mental health issues. And this is what it looks like.
Please pick up. He's coming for my baby. Please send someone.
Dispatch. Police. Ma'am, open the door.
Here.
Ma'am, you're okay. Just keep breathing for me.
He's right there.
Where? Where are you pointing?
In the hall. I swear I saw him.
Unit 23 checking hallway. Stand by.
The tragic story of a mother who drowned her children. Andrea Yates, a mother from Texas, drowned her 5 children in the family bathtub on June 20th, 2001. Her case brought attention to the impact of severe postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and schizophrenia on a mother's mental state and actions. Andrea had a history of mental health issues, including suicidal thoughts, depression, delusional thinking, and schizophrenia. Despite her struggles, she lived a seemingly normal life with her husband, Russell, and their 5 children. Andrea's mental health deteriorated after the birth of her 5th child, Mary, in 2000. She became convinced that she and her children were destined for hell, and that the only way to save them was to kill them and be executed for the crime. Andrea stopped taking her antipsychotic medication in June 2001. Less than 3 weeks later, she drowned her children, aged 6 months to 7 years, one by one.
Do y'all see how small all of her kids were? And she had 5 of them. This means this lady was severely lacking in sleep. Sleep deprivation is a form of torture, and it will drive you crazy.
Say motherhood and giving birth is the most beautiful experience in the world. But what they don't tell you is that for some women, it can feel like stepping off a cliff with no warning. As a divorce lawyer, I've sat across from women who were completely unrecognizable from the person that they were just months before giving birth. And it wasn't because they stopped loving their child. It was because no one told them what could happen when their brain short circuits after delivery. Postpartum psychosis is not just the baby blues. It's not just being tired or weepy. It's full-blown delusion, paranoia, hallucinations. It's hearing voices, seeing things, believing that something is deeply wrong when it's not. It's terrifying. And the worst part, most women don't even know what it is until they're in the middle of it. You know what breaks my heart? I've had clients whose husbands filed for divorce during that window of time. She wasn't dangerous. She wasn't neglectful. She was unwell. But instead of standing beside her, they walked away. Instead of asking, how do we help her heal? It became, how fast can I get custody? We give moms diapers and strollers, but we don't give them language for what might be happening to their mind. Mental illness doesn't make a woman dangerous. Silence does. If postpartum psychosis affected men, there'd be mandatory screenings in every hospital and billion-dollar ad campaigns about it. So maybe the question isn't, what's wrong with her? Maybe the question is, why are we still not talking about this? And why are so many women punished for something that they never asked for, never caused, and never had support to survive?
Deprivation is a straight up torture tactic, so why do we ignore it when it happens to new moms? Over a third of new moms, over 19 million moms annually, go over 24 hours without sleep in the first weeks postpartum. In other words, they experience literal textbook sleep torture in the first weeks after giving birth. Sleep deprivation is used by the military and interrogators to break people down, to confuse them, to make them emotionally unstable. It's classified as torture by the UN, but it's treated like it's a normal part of motherhood. The average mama is only getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, fragmented, broken up, often waking up every hour or more frequently to feed or comfort the baby. And of course, that just grinds you down mentally, emotionally, physically. 75% of new moms report that they have sleep deprivation so severe that it causes them serious mental distress, affects their relationships and their physical well-being. So dads, if she's crying, if she's unstable, struggling, snappy, feeling super overwhelmed, that is completely understandable. We'd be feeling the exact same thing. It's because she's being straight up sleep tortured. And she's expected to smile going through it, which is wild. If chronic sleep deprivation is enough to break down hardened criminals in interrogation rooms, then how are we considering this normal for moms and not supporting it in every way that we can? So really, let's stop glorifying the exhaustion. Let's validate her, help her rest whenever you can. Even an hour can make a massive difference. Moms are rock stars. Heavily sleep deprived rock stars.
When they tell you to sleep when the baby sleeps.
So as a society, we don't let drunk people go to work, but we let sleep-deprived mums parent alone because the partner going into the office can't be tired. That's an important job, you guys. But after about 17 hours being awake, your brain functions like 0.05 blood alcohol. That is drink driving level of impairment. And that's the brain state we normalize for the parent responsible for a vulnerable, helpless baby. But we don't call it unsafe. We just call it motherhood.
So yeah, women are literally being tortured and deprived, and men have no idea, and that's because we're in a patriarchy. It's set up for them to just be providers and to go to work and not to think about anything but themselves, because of course they do need sleep also. Some of these men are working long hours, 10 to 12 hour shifts, and they're tired. So when that sleep deprived mom is frustrated and is yelling at them when they get home to help her so she can get some rest, it's stressing both of them out. And that is the problem with patriarchy, and that is what feminists are fighting against, trying to make it fair and equitable to everybody. When we're in a capitalist system and they want these men to have families and making money and being slaves to the system, it's hard for everybody because mom is not getting support from other women while dad is gone. And then when dad gets home, mom is still not getting support from him because he's just wore out by the system that is making him leave the house. No bueno para todos. You understand? It's not good for everybody.
They say the grave of a new mother is open for the first 40 days. And often people think that sounds really like morbid, but I think it's an important reminder that the community has to hold a new mother just as much as you hold a new baby. You don't leave a new baby alone. You don't leave a new baby hungry. You don't leave a new baby cold, right? And most mothers many of our cultural traditions, we're not holding mothers. We're not literally holding them, doing steams for them, massaging them, closing the bones, wrapping them, feeding them, letting them rest. So the countries that have the lowest postpartum depression and mood disorders are the countries that have the most intact traditional postpartum care afterwards. Many people go into birth thinking, oh, every birth is going to age you 10 years. With proper postpartum care, you will feel rejuvenated. You will feel younger than before. You will feel, and after having multiple births with various degrees of care, it's so noticeable. Even as you get older, you think, oh, I'm older, birth is going to be harder. When the care is good, you feel as young and healthier than before.
This is the video that made my husband finally understand what I've been dealing with.
A husband who doesn't understand postpartum may lose his wife, but a husband who does can keep a happy marriage for life. Men, postpartum is not an excuse. Your wife does not want to feel this way. Those mood swings you see are not intentional. After childbirth, hormones drop dramatically. Estrogen and progesterone that once supported her body fall almost overnight. This sudden crash affects her mood, sleep, memory, energy, even her sense of self. At the same time, cortisol rises, leaving her body in constant fight or flight. She cannot sleep deeply, wakes to feed the baby with her body still in recovery, and exhaustion leaves her forgetful, irritable, and fragile, even when she doesn't want to be. Her digestion slows, bloating comes and goes, hair sheds in handfuls, and her skin feels dry and dull. Despite her efforts, she is not letting herself go. Her body is healing from the greatest physical challenge of her life. This is not your wife's fault. It is a biological storm she must face. And what she needs is not judgment, but patience, compassion, and a husband's arms of understanding. When you see this truth, you no longer see a difficult woman, but the mother of your child who needs you more than ever. And when you walk beside her, you don't just protect your marriage, you protect the heart of the woman who gave you your child, her body, and her love.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it, sister. Some of y'all don't be having postpartum depression. Some of y'all be having a sorry ass nigga laying in your goddamn bed that ain't helping you do shit, and you gotta fend for him, you, and them damn kids by yourself. Sometimes it don't be postpartum depression, anxiety, psychosis. It be the spirit of that raggedy ass, low down, sorry ass nigga. That's what it be, sister. That's what it be, sister. You get rid of that nigga, the depression gonna go with it. Sometimes it's all of the above, so go seek help if you need it, sister, and get rid of that nigga.
Experience with postpartum depression, it really was like, what did I get myself into? This person is my responsibility, and that's my child. You have the child with the man, but that's, as a woman, that's your child, right? And every mother knows exactly what I mean when I say that. And the anxiety was always feeling like something bad was gonna happen. And I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, because I didn't know what was going on. So that's when I ended up seeking psychotherapy, because I couldn't sleep and like all these different things. Most people are calling and they're like asking about the baby. Oh, how's Hendrix? But no one's asking how I'm doing. And then other mothers, even my mother and my sister, they didn't understand at the time, and now they do, and they've apologized for it and I've forgiven them for it. But they would be like, well, why are you doing it like that? And lay the baby on the back, or like, why is hair looking like that? Like all of these different things. And I know other new moms have experienced this, where it's like people project what they feel like you should be as a mother, as a parent on you, and then they're asking about the baby, but no one's saying, how's your mental? What do you need?
Say this to the men so y'all can better understand what's really going on with us women. We are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually exhausted in motherhood, okay? The domestic labor falls on us, and we know that society goes by traditional roles, so a lot of the household deeds fall on the women. But for us we constantly have to be attentive to what our children need when they're sick, when they look like they're about to become sick, their education, their emotional well-being, them learning, their coping skills. This is all of everything that we are paying attention to. On top of loving our children, we're trying to find spaces to be able to love ourselves. Yeah. On top of trying to create safety for our children, we're looking for safety and security within ourselves. And sometimes because of all of the expectations and obligations and burdens and the load on us, we can't find that safety. So we turn to our partner, and sometimes in our partner, because they resent us so much for the transitions that we have faced in our motherhood, we can't find safety with them as well. So you have to be able to extend some type of grace. And that's what we mean when we say we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be understood, we want to be validated. We need you all because we understand that mentally, psychologically, men and women are not the same. We understand that, but as a partner, we need you to try to step into our shoes, see it through our eyes, hear it through our ears, feel it through our heart, so you can better understand where we are coming from.
Dads, returning to work after your baby arrives does not mean that your partner is on her own. Here are 5 ways to support your postpartum partner even when you're back at work. Number 1, keep your house stocked with nutrient-dense, caloric-rich foods. Warm foods are best, but most important, make sure it's ready and prepped and easy to heat up and eat. Same with liquids. Hydration is so important, so make sure she has water, tea, bone broths, anything else that she likes. 2, check in with her throughout the day. Those early postpartum days can be long and lonely for mom. Sending her texts, asking how she's feeling, and checking in with her can really make her feel more connected even while you're away. Number 3, take over baby duties as soon as you get home. Don't think that because you've been working all day, you get to go home and sit on the couch. It's go time to do the dishes, take out the trash, restock supplies, and get that amazing bonding time with your newborn. Dad in, mom out. Number 4, know the signs of postpartum depression and anxiety. It's not always obvious, but when you see intense mood swings, persistent crying, and overwhelming anxiety, check in with her and let her share her feelings without trying to fix them. And remember, while you're at work, your wife is doing one of the hardest jobs she'll ever do. So show up in a way that honors, respects, and appreciates everything that she's doing.
Postpartum depression is very real. A woman loses 17 ounces of blood giving vaginal delivery. So when you see this woman say, I don't want to be bothered, leave her alone. When she said, all I want is rest, give her rest. If she says she's hungry, fix her something to eat. Her hormones are all over the place, but you dusty bums want to take everything personal and making it seem like she's attacking you. She's going through it. She's going through something that most men can understand. And if you want your woman not to suffer from postpartum depression, make sure she's financially backed. What does that mean? Take care of her every need so she can get the rest that she needs. Understand her emotionally. Sometimes she's going to want to give you a hug. Sometimes she's not even going to be bothered. Sometimes she's going to smile. Sometimes she's going to cry. Sometimes she's going to feel like she's not good enough for herself. So you men have to understand what's going on with our women. If not, stop getting them pregnant. Postpartum depression is something very real. So when she says she's going through it, she's not making it up. No, she's not searching for attention. She's really going through it. And if you can't support that woman, leave her alone, because everything that she goes through mentally, every hormonal imbalance will go into the breast milk of your child. Now the child is feeling the pain and the stress and the anger and the sadness of the mother. We have to love these.
Reality of pregnancy. The pain of birth is the equivalent of breaking 20 bones at the same time. 90% of vaginal births tear the vagina. A woman loses up to 700 hours of sleep the first year after the baby is born. That is the equivalent of 1 full month. 30 full days of sleep loss. They sleep 11 months out of 12 months of the year. Just try to imagine the exhaustion. A woman on average sleeps 5 hours per night in 3 chunks. So about an hour and a half, wake up, feed baby, completely have to wake up, and then go back to sleep. And I've heard from many mothers that it is generally less than 5 hours. I've heard some say 3 hours of sleep. While on top of that, producing breast milk requires 25 to 30% of your daily energy expenditure. Breast milk production requires more than the brain. Creating breast milk is like having a second brain-sized organ inside of your body consuming that much energy. The placenta is a temporary organ meant to be disposed. It's the only temporary organ ever created in human history. Mama produces 50% more blood during pregnancy. Imagine if 50% more blood just started circulating through your body. The same amount of veins, 50% more blood. Breastfeeding can cause severe nipple cracking. The hormone drop after birth is so severe that it's what causes postpartum depression. It is so severe, it is considered the equivalent of a drug withdrawal, like somebody who's addicted to drugs getting off of drugs. In many cultures throughout history, motherhood has been regarded to as the second part of life. The first is the maiden, where you're young, and then mother is a whole new section of life, and then later is crone. But mother is considered a whole new section of life because the whole body changes. I mean, their foot size can change permanently, hormones change permanently, physicality changes permanently. During pregnancy, to make room for the baby squishes up all of the organs. You should see a diagram as to what it looks like when a baby is inside of a mother. What do you think happens with all the room? It just has to squish the organs. The baby forces room by squishing the organs. How incredibly painful and uncomfortable. I know that growing up we were taught absolutely nothing about the difficulty of motherhood or parenthood or what women have to go through, but it's time that we learn so that way we can give women the grace and the true support that they actually need. Women are suffering. That needs to stop.
Literally about to leave my wife, and she had just had our baby. I was sitting in the kitchen and my wife and I were arguing pretty badly, and this was just postpartum baby stuff that she was going through. I couldn't handle offering my wife all these solutions to all these new problems, them not being good enough, and then me not being good enough. And no matter what I did for her, no matter what I did for the baby, nothing was good enough. And I can't do this anymore. I'm going to have to leave, and I'm contemplating leaving my wife.
There seems to be a new genre of content where men are looking for praise for admitting to behaving badly in the past. This guy isn't making this video to help other men. He's making it to get validation from women. And it worked, because this man has so many women in his comments thanking him for his bravery. But can you imagine if it was a woman sitting there talking about how she wanted to leave her baby and her husband after her baby was born? Because she would be getting ripped apart. So why would she be considered selfish if you think he's brave? And I noticed that he's responding to negative comments by saying that men just don't know any better. But women don't know any better either. No one takes us aside and gives us a crash course on parenting while they lock the men out of the room, but we figure it out because we have no choice. This is a perfect example of a man who wants a wife and children but doesn't want to be a husband or a father. They struggle with the loss of undivided attention, and they see the needs of a new baby as a conflict to their own needs, instead of seeing them as a new responsibility to be shared between them and their partner. But if you're incapable of being able to say that it's not about you when the going gets tough, then you have no business being a father. There's no room for immaturity or selfishness. Her nipples are leaking, she's in pain from delivery, she's sleep deprived, her hormones are crashing, and this is when you decide to have a personal crisis? This is the time you don't walk away. And even if you can't do it for your wife, then do it for your child. And you might be sitting there saying, well, he wasn't going to abandon his baby, he was only going to abandon his wife. But if you can abandon your spouse while she's struggling with postpartum and has tears streaming down her face, then you are abandoning your baby, regardless of whether you think you are or not. And the irony here is that you don't even realize that you had already made your wife the default parent when your baby was only a few days old. Because you would only feel comfortable abandoning your wife and your baby if you knew that your wife was going to continue to care for your child, regardless of whether you were there or not. And that means that you had already put all the responsibility on her. And if you think she couldn't feel that during her darkest days, then you're crazy. She wanted someone to listen. She didn't want someone to solve, because a new baby is not a problem, it's an adjustment. And you can't tell her how to deal with what she's experiencing because you don't know how she feels. And that's proven by the fact that you still felt like you were free enough to get in the car and drive away. Think about it. You're saying that you were struggling with watching how bad she was struggling. And you weren't struggling because you wanted to fix it, you were struggling because it was an inconvenience. You wanted her to listen to your solution because you wanted it to go away, not because you wanted to make her feel better. Because if you cared about how she felt, then you wouldn't have been willing to leave her to do what she was already struggling with alone. So this is the perfect example of the difference between some mothers and fathers when their baby enters the world. Because while he was busy worrying all about him, she was busy adjusting to how it's no longer about her.
So, as I said at the beginning of the video, patriarchy is making it hard for everybody. I can't think of one problem that we're having that patriarchy doesn't contribute to, or racism or misogyny. There's even more men who are becoming feminists because they see that it will be good for everybody. In this society, in this setup, we have men having to go to work for 10, 12-hour days, the ones who do have families, and when they get home, they don't want to help these women because they're exhausted, and rightfully so, but they think that their day ends there, and that is putting the women in very hard situations. The men have to rest too, but unfortunately, we have women out here who are like pushing the patriarchy, and they're holding it up because they don't realize that it's hurting everybody. It's a system that hurts everybody. If they were in a matriarchy, you know, the women would have help. We wouldn't be going through all of this pain and suffering just to bring kids into the world for this capitalist society who only wants to use them to work in their factories and their warehouses to make themselves richer. You never really get the quality time that you want to have with your kids and your husband all together in a patriarchy, because one or both of the parents are out of the house trying to survive because the prices are just going up on everything, daycare, food, everything. In a matriarchy, it would not be like that. We would be more in a natural system where everybody can grow their food. All of the food wouldn't be in grocery stores, and if it was, it would be at a reasonable price. So I'm just glad that I'm seeing that more men are waking up to this, and they're starting to be feminists too, because feminism is not only for women, it's also for men, because it'll help them too if they all get on board with us. It should be no reason why anybody is in sleep deprivation, like for having a baby. Like, it should be ways that these women could get help. And the men are being pressured and they don't know what to do. And a lot of them are just like leaving and getting divorced, or flipping out on the woman, or just taking it out on the baby. We see that a lot. A lot of these men who are left with their kids, they want to play their video games and they don't want to take care of their kids. I'm not saying that's right, but if we weren't in a patriarchy, we wouldn't be pressuring these men to be like dads, because in nature they're not really nurturers. They can learn to be nurturers, and some men have, and they do, and that's awesome. That means they broke outside of the mold and they are the exception and not the rule. But for the most part, we're seeing globally that these men are not wanting to take care of these kids, and they're abusing them and the women after the women have them, because it's just so unbalanced and so unnatural in a patriarchy. So get down in the comments, ladies, and let me know how your pregnancy went. If you had postpartum depression. I didn't. I have two boys, a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I remember they both did not sleep, but I did have sleep deprivation. I was very deprived of sleep, and it was very hard. That is the one thing that I can remember with both of my pregnancies that I did not like. So get down in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.